Welcome to the Walsh Literacy Initiative's Read-a-Palooza. In this session, we hear from Dr. David Brobeck.
One of the things that has struck me is the clarity of the stories as we go through, that we need to be mindful of every child and young person. I think about the kids that I've taught in my lifetime, and I don't know how many you cover in the course of 45 years, but I want you to understand that my soapbox is early identification and why it's so important. So I need to start with a story. This is a story of a little boy named James who recently completed first grade. In January, the school assessed his reading progress. As most of us would hope, James scored slightly above grade level. And the results had a greater meaning because he entered kindergarten with an IEP for dyslexia. Now, ideally, the story would state that his district, with over 50% of the students on free or reduced lunch, proactively screen for reading difficulties and embrace early identification. But that is not this story. Rather, this is a story about truth, justice, and the ethical way. In the spring before kindergarten, this little boy's mother, a former student of mine, contacted me with her suspicion that he was dyslexic. She explained that he had been in preschool for speech delay, he had difficulty remembering names, and the preschool teacher stated that he could only identify 5 of the 26 letters in the alphabet. By the way, he recognized J, A, M, E, and S. Well, this is also a story of privilege. James's mother teaches at a university and his father is a physician. When I suggested that they arrange for a consultation call with special needs attorney Carrie Agins, they did exactly that. They had the resources to do so. The district reacted exactly as attorney Agins predicted. Why don't we wait and see? He's likely to catch up in no time. Cutting to the chase. Being represented and being willing to make a lot of noise did bring forth an agreement that James would begin kindergarten on an IEP. He would learn from an Orton Gillingham trained teacher. There would be no wait and see. From Steve Dykstra at a conference earlier this year, I learned that children experiencing trauma can get help from many different sources, but the only place these children learn to read is school. The only place a hungry child learns to read is school. The only place a child with adverse experiences learns to read is school. The only place most children learn to read is school. To every superintendent and school board member listening, I implore you to be a proactive advocate for early identification framed in truth, justice, and the ethical way. You see, the truth is found in facts. First, using a science of reading foundation for every child with a well-trained teacher can enable 95% of all students to read proficiently. Phonological understanding has a benefit for most and harms no one. 2, nearly all students who fall behind never catch up. They never catch up. Early identification and early intervention help all, and the vulnerable are not left behind. Social justice is an equity issue. Being able to read proficiently combats the effects of poverty and racism. I want to repeat that. Being able to read proficiently combats the effects of poverty and racism. James's parents assured him that he gets a fair start in life. But what about the 15 to 20% of the children needing a structured literacy approach who are asked to wait and see? What about them? Why can't they be assured that their community is as committed to them as James's parents were committed to him? The ethical way. If you are in P12 leadership, you have an ethical obligation to demand, no, require that early identification is the policy and practice of your district. Shouldn't every child be able to tell a success story? Like that little boy who entered kindergarten only knowing 5 letters of his name. In closing, Advocating for early identification requires you to embrace the truth, advocate for justice, and apply the purity of your ethical compass. We do this because the most vulnerable need advocates. We embrace early identification of reading challenges because there are many ways we can help children to grow and survive. But the only place we can teach them to read is school.